Good evening, lady Raider Wenches. What's going on with y'all tonight?
Good evening, Captain. Y'all thinking because it's the off season, we don't have much to say, but we've been thinking about a few things, and I know Heidi has been too.
Well, in order to not sound sexist, that this is going to come across sexist, there is never a time when there isn't things to be said by a lady. So that whole statement is just just out there. It's there's
Right.
no time for that. The ladies always got things to say, and that's why we're here to listen about all those good things to listen to. I will say this though: if you are on Facebook, come over to YouTube, get those comments going on YouTube, because my Facebook, I can't read all the comments. So please come over to YouTube, Captain Jack Rackham Levy, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. I know I'm an old, ugly dude with a beard, but this is really supposed to be for the ladies. And I eventually shut up because I have the ladies that drive the show. I got Miss Peggy and I
It's
got
ladies' night and the
Yes.
moon is right.
I love that song. Since it states exactly what I'm thinking about. Captain, we wanted to kick it off and start it off by talking about something that we talked about maybe a mid-December, and I asked the question: should Carr stay or go?
Oh, wait,
And I
wait.
think
You're going to do that. Da, na, 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 na. Should he stay or should he go?
that's right.
And I don't
and
have to worry about a YouTube strike because it's me singing badly. So there you go. I
I mean,
apologize.
that's the beauty of having your own show. But all three of us thought he should go.
Yeah.
And now with the new regime in,
That doesn't
there's
look
not.
likely.
It doesn't look likely, but I want to talk about why.
Yeah.
Okay. And Heidi, I wanted you to kick it off. Why do you think the prospects of Carr staying are
I think that
genuine?
I think the prospects of him staying are genuine. I know that Josh McDaniels has always liked him, and in fact tried to trade for him. And I believe that he's probably going to want to see if his impression of him was accurate, and try to work with them for a year or so to see where they get. As far as Carr getting an extension, I don't think if he does get one, it's not going to be incredibly long. I know one of the things that he has wanted is a no trade clause, and that's something that the Raiders don't want to give it. They don't want to give him that.
No.
And so that's kind of where they've been butting heads. It hasn't been the money. It's been that no trade clause that he wants.
Mm-hmm. And I think for the most part we kind of misread this season, but last season was just so full of ups and downs, emotional roller coasters. I, for one, was fed up with having to defend Carr against the Kardashians who have this limited view, A, of the role of the quarterback, but B, Carr's contribution to what little we had. And I guess winning, as always, made things change the landscape, so to speak. And of course, they were still blaming him even for that Bengals loss. I mean, the last words off their lips were, why did he throw into double coverage? And I have challenged so many people to show me the pictures where anybody was open on that last pass play. And I've yet to see one. Okay. What I did see on that play was Cincinnati was holding. They held Zay Jones. I mean, it was clear holding before the ball arrived. And as usual,
holding and defensive pass interference all in one, because the one guy was holding him and the other guy went over his back.
Exactly. And nobody called anything. And maybe we get a chance to talk later about that trend of not calling things. But I think that the reason that things change, like you said, Heidi, is Josh McDaniels and the kind of quarterback. And I say to people, I mean, there isn't a offensive coordinator in this league that would not like to have an experienced pocket quarterback to design plays for. It's like having a new toy on the shelf, right? You know, you can design any play. Carr's already shown you he can work with multiple receivers. He can work with multiple offensive coordinators. He can change with who he gets. He's a smart guy. He's got a great arm. There's things he has to fix, and we'll get to that. But I think that's why Carr is staying. Now, Captain, you have some other thoughts to share about why we were wrong.
Well,
That he is going to stay.
Well, we were wrong, but actually, until his name is signed on the dotted line,
I see.
There's still a bunch of conjecture, and we still might not be wrong in that respect, because I've actually had some intelligent conversations with one of the Raider groups that has a bunch of other people in it as well, and I still will say this: if Josh McDaniels can take a rookie quarterback in Jones with a defense, obviously with a decent Belichick defense, to the playoffs, okay, and again, that's a rookie quarterback. What's to say? And I think that we were all saying the same thing, is like Derek Carr has shown that he has all of that ability. But if I'm the Raiders, I'm saying I'm trading him at his highest value, and maybe taking a year as a setback, but maybe not if you have Jones that can run that offense. So I mean, I'm sure that they can have other people do it. Taking a quarterback either in the draft or with a quarterback that is readily available that knows the system, i.e. Jacoby Brissett. Have that quarterback be your quarterback for the year, build up the lines, and with those picks that you get for Derek Carr, because there are teams that are quarterback hungry.
Salivating.
Right. The Commanders want him. The Steelers would want him. The Saints would want him. Those are just three teams. Denver would want him, but I'm not going to trade him within division. That's just stupid.
Right.
I'm saying that there are teams that would definitely want his services, and then you put him in a bidding war. And again, I like Derek Carr, but if I'm going to get a bunch of picks for Derek Carr and this will be the only time, oh God, please forgive me for saying this, the Patriot IE / New Raider way of doing things, which is taking picks and trading.
We know how hard it was to get them words out your mouth.
And again, that's why
be sure to censor it. Write down the time you just said that and make sure you
correct.
can bleep it.
9:16 on 2:22. Yeah, right.
That's a drop. If somebody knows how to do the do the cut ups, that there are people that know how to do that. That's a drop. The captain said Patriot way, and it's I just said it again. But if you do the New Raider way from things that are learned back east, okay, you trade people a year early, not a year late.
Right.
You get top value for them, and there are plenty of teams that are quarterback hungry. Okay.
Yeah. And I would even throw San Francisco in the mix, but I wanted to segue off of that to talk about, maybe you'd like to give us each of us say one thing that we think needs to be fixed on Derek's Carr. Since we're talking about McDaniels and the things that he can do, the one thing, for me, let me start it off, and I think it's part of our red zone problems. Carr is afraid to make mistakes. And there's a number of reasons why he's developed this thing in his head, I think, for him not to want to make mistakes. But what's happening is it's handicapping his improvisational skills. I think that he's a little bit concrete. When he gets a play, he's even looking at the guy he wants to throw to. I do understand he audibles, but I think it even handicaps his ability to audible into a play that really gains a lot of positive yards. So if I wanted to fix one thing, that's his improvisational abilities at quarterback, his flexibility. And Heidi, what are you thinking? If you had to fit one thing on Carr, what would that thing be?
I got to learn how to point, but yeah.
I think it is related to what you just said, is his ability to read progressions. Because when he's playing well, he does that. But when the pressure comes on him and he's maybe off that day, he just stares down the receiver the entire time.
Mhm.
Everyone in the stadium knows where he's going and makes it really easy for the defense to defend it.
Captain, what are you thinking about? What would you, that one thing that you would fix on Carr that you want McDaniels to fix?
Well, the one thing that I would fix that I can't fix is to give him bigger hands. Okay, that's one thing. I mean, if we're talking perfect world, he would have bigger hands so he wouldn't fumble the ball so many friggin' times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing that really just irks me about. But I don't know whether you can actually exercise your hands to get them bigger or things like that, or in such a way you can make your hands stronger. That's one thing that needs to be done, and that's that as well. I want to see him, and what I don't.
You got your one thing.
No.
You said the hands.
No. I said in a perfect world that would be my one thing, but you can't really do that. What I want to know is, was it Carr or was it Gruden? With my next question, run out of the freaking pocket when you don't see things developing. And people it was like the chicken and the egg. Is it Gruden saying for him not to run? And they told him, you're on a tight leash, don't do it? Or was it him being afraid of getting injured again? And I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't think any of us will ever know after he retires. And then he said, hey, who was it? Was it Gruden telling you not to run, or was it you not running? Because I think that he should be able to do that.
It's an extension of what I was saying, and Heidi, I think you agree. When I say improvisational, that's a general thing. When I'm saying improvise, I mean studying the situation. And by the way, Rich, I saw what you said when I said he's afraid to make mistakes. He's got good reason, and it has nothing to do with the O-line. It has everything to do with a defense that can't hold a lead. Okay, especially in the fourth quarter. You don't have a good defense backing you up. You know that every mistake is going to be costly. And I think Carr's gotten into that mindset. But Captain, that point about running, and we've talked about this, I think it's everything you said, Captain, but it's also that running out of the pocket is an instinct, not a play choice. I think it's instinctive. It's a physical muscle memory thing. It's like, let me pull this ball down. I don't see anything. Let me choose to run, and I run.
Well, Peggy, if you remember, and I'm not sure if it was his first year or not, but I remember the first game that I was at in Oakland in 2014 or 2015. They were playing the Texans. And I remember he ran in such a way, and I know that the cameras didn't even see him because it was such a great play. And he ran right down the sideline right in front of me, and it was like a 20, 25-yard gain his rookie year or so, okay? And I'm like, that's what we need, is somebody, if there's nothing there, he's going to run. We lost that game to the Texans.
I'm talking about the situation, and Heidi, help me out here. We're talking about what you're talking about, under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The situation where he must do something to prolong a series of downs or to score when his defense has once again put him behind. That kind of pressure. And the running out of the pocket, I maintain, is an instinct. It's not a thing where you can say, okay, Carr, you can run. You're free. The handcuffs are off. I mean, what do you think, Heidi? I mean, this whole running out of the pocket thing.
I think he actually has that instinct. It's just for whatever reason, he's not doing it. And I think it could have been Gruden saying, don't do it. We don't want you to mess things up. But you have to look.
What about with Del Rio? I mean, he wasn't really running out of the pocket then either.
Well, he was.
Well, I mean, he's not running. He's not doing a run pass option or anything. Right. But like the Saints game where he went head over heels, for a first down. I think that instinct is in there. It's just they have trained him more to take the safe way and to not do it. I think they've had to train him to not do it. And there are times where he really should be doing it. And then there are times where he's done it where he shouldn't have. And
I mean, you could, Captain, I know you remember those reaches, right? He's running and then he extends the hand. And it's
Cowboys game. Cowboys game out of the end zone.
The Eagles game. The Christmas Day Eagles game.
And the Packers game, which I saw in Lambeau 3 times. Eagles, Packers, Cowboys. And it was like when I'm sitting there in Green Bay and I see that and he fumbles it out. The same thing. He fumbled it out of the end zone. Packers got the ball back either 1 or 2 plays later on. They have like an 80-yard touchdown pass.
Rodgers turned the game around. Yeah. And
it was minimum 14, could be like, or I should say minimum 10, definitely 14-point swing. And I'm like, and that's what opened the floodgates after that. And actually that's the game that Jacobs got injured at as well, was the game up in Lambeau. So I remember that game very well.
And if you have a quarterback that's done that 3 times, you're going to tell him not to run.
Right.
So.
And maybe instinct is not the good word. I mean, I look at the way he runs. It's not a comfortable thing for him. I look at the smoothness of a Lamar or Kyler or, our RPOs around it. There's a smoothness in their running motion that Carr does not have. He is not a natural runner. He doesn't hold his body right. He doesn't hold his hands right. There's just not anything in him that he's not had that kind of training as a runner, which is probably another reason why he doesn't pull the ball down and do it often. I mean, let's take away the command not to do so. Sometimes a situation may call for it, and this is where the improvisation comes in. But I think with the red zone, and this is my next question to everybody out there as well. I mean, what is handcuffing Carr in that red zone? Because red zone performance, not just offensive line driven, it's also quarterback kind of doing stuff, making some decisions, moving around, doing things to allow his receivers or whoever to come open. What's your thoughts on Carr in the red zone? And he's raising his hand. You don't have to raise your hand.
I have to come up with an answer for that.
So, yeah, Captain, you go.
No. I was pointing to Heidi first because I'm gonna blow your.
I mean, I know they're tough questions, but I know these are questions that all of our fans have been thinking about. I mean, what's going on in that red zone with Carr?
Okay.
Well, I think
You go ahead.
I think part of it has to be the offensive line, though. It's because Carr knows the offensive line isn't going to work for him, and so that causes him for his improvisation to, be poor. He's not able to handle it, and he's not playing well because he knows the line's going to swallow him up. The line is not going to lead the way for the running backs to go in. and he is stuck trying to throw it to Waller in the corner of the end zone. And I mean, that's probably the most success they had was throwing to Moreau or Waller or somebody in the corner of the end zone. Otherwise, running into the end zone, it wasn't there. And just playing smart little plays into the end zone, they didn't work either. You know,
it just didn't work. And I look at other quarterbacks, how fluid they get in the red zone. And they I mean, things flow for them, and it isn't just their O-line, because some of these teams didn't have great O-lines. It seemed to me to be quarterback driven, that the quarterback made some decisions, and those decisions in turn got somebody open. There was a quicker execution of the pass, for instance. You get him when he first comes open. You don't wait for him to come open because you don't have that kind of time. I don't know. Captain, what are your thoughts about Carr in the red zone?
Okay, this is a multifaceted, normal Captain Jack answer, so it's going to be long.
No, it's not. You're going to tell us.
Yeah, well, it's multi-layered. Okay, first off, if you go back a couple years, like in 2016, when he had Michael Crabtree,
yeah,
he knew how to use Michael Crabtree, and he would use him at corner of the end zone or front of the end zone or through the end zone. He seemed to have that good rapport with Michael Crabtree. So the red zone offense in that year was great, or it was definitely better than it was. Okay. But then it was the O-line was different. So now we're going to start knowing the fact that the O-line was
much better. He was spending a huge amount of money on O-line.
But from that point on, the O-line started to regress. Rodney Hudson started to regress. Gabe Jackson started to regress. That was, I think, at the culmination of when that offensive line was at its best, was 2016. And in subsequent years, they got older, slower, more injured. You know, a change in personnel. Osemele wasn't there at left guard anymore as well. So there was those changes there. So it was a combination of the O-line, a lack of rapport with the receivers, and the play calling. And I'm going to blow your mind, Peggy. I'm going to say something that you're going to. I want to see the expression on your face too. I want to see, because I'm getting in close for this. Okay,
go ahead.
Going back to the last offensive play of the Raiders season this year. Okay, and I made a comment on a show with none other than Stuart Schweigert. Okay, Stuart was on the show, and somebody was saying about that bad play, and I was going through and say that the play calling was suspect, because who was the offensive coordinator? And Stuart, I didn't see it, but people were telling me about it. Stuart got livid pissed at me because I described the fact that Renfro was on the 10-yard line, okay? Waller went in to chip block and then eventually left. Okay?
Play design, go ahead.
Yeah. Edwards, I don't know where Edwards was, okay? Jacobs was blocking in the backfield, and the only person, now again, Edwards might have been, I don't know where Edwards was. That's the only person I can't account for in the offense. And the only person near the end zone was Zay Jones, who was double covered. Now, it shows in other things that after the ball is released, that Waller appears to have been free and could have gotten the winning or tying touchdown at that time, but that was after the ball was released, so we don't know and conjecture what it was prior to. But I still think if Carr would have waited a second and he would have had that off the chip, it could have been Waller for the tying touchdown. That is one thing. But Stewart lit into me. He lit into me, and he goes, it's not, I almost did it. It's not effing Olsen. Greg Olsen is a fantastic coach.
He was serious?
No, he's serious. He's serious.
I mean, I guess to some people, Olsen could look great. I look at it. Depends on how you look at an offensive coordinator.
I'm just
Breaking
saying,
news! Breaking news! Greg Olson has been demoted to the Rams staff, so the Rams will not be winning the Super Bowl this next season.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If you talk to Jake Swigert, he is a Olsen apostle.
Yep.
He is an Olsen apostle.
I'm
So
sure followed him around.
I take this in. I said, okay, of the people that are on this panel, not this panel, but at the people that are on the panel that we were talking, it says only one of us has played in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And only one of us has been in a locker room with the coaches. So I'm going to defer my statement to somebody who is in the locker room that knows the guy personally. Okay, there's bias there. There is bias there, but according to Stu, and if Stu's here, great. And if Stu watches this on a replay, fantastic. I'm not nothing against Stu, but Stu knows things that we don't know. And we as fans see things as we want to see them. Okay. So
they're right. Okay.
I'm just
that our lion eyes, lion eyes are telling us that there should have been on a play as critical as that. I mean, last play of the game, there should have been at least 3 people in the end zone.
I agree.
On the court. Is he talking about execution? He's calling a great play and they're not executing?
He said,
come on,
that all on Carr. And I said, okay, Stu.
Fine.
Okay, Stu.
And I'm believe me, we're looking at all our comments. Bishop, you're absolutely right. The bootleg is a quarterback driven play. When's the last time you've seen a bootleg called in the red zone? First and goal, second and goal.
Well, they actually called a stupid. I don't know if it was in the red zone. Well, what was the play we ran, Mariota? The same play back to back, and it was like it was okay the first time. It was the last game. It was the last game against the Bengals, right? We ran Mariota back to back, or it was or against the Chargers. It
no imagination,
and then we did the same different play again. I don't know. Okay,
and that's the thing when we're talking about the red zone, and I've heard a couple of experts talk about this. Half of what goes on, especially inside the 10-yard line, is definitely quarterback driven. You cannot, even if you have the worst O-line and some of the worst players, it's quarterback driven. If you don't have the quarterback as an option, your options are limited. Now, Heidi, I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that statement. If the quarterback is not a threat, and somebody said that already, and Michael M. said, if the car isn't a real threat to run, then the scheming is important. Okay? But I mean, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, we're talking about how McDaniels can improve Carr. That's the general theme.
Well, I think you have to look back at 2016. And like you guys were saying, when he had Crabtree and he had Cooper, and he had 2 decent wide receivers.
1.5.
He was able to use them. So he is capable of it. It's just I think that the offensive scheme has put him in a position where he's just not able to capitalize. And it's been ugly. This year, when I was watching the games with our local club, as soon as we hit the red zone, we're like, oh, well, just send out Daniel Carlson. No point in running the plays,
right.
Get another field goal. So I think part of it is the personnel around him. But there is a intangible characteristic that the great quarterbacks have to be able to capitalize in the red zone. And that has not developed in Carr yet. So
go ahead. And it is true. And Richie is saying, bootlegs don't work. But the threat of the bootleg, if you have a smart offensive coordinator, you can design plays off the mere thought that a bootleg could be run. A fake, a pitch, some kind of play where the attention focuses on the quarterback instead of where you really want him to focus. I mean, for all we know, he could get the ball, begin to run, stop, pull up. And I've just seen so much stuff go on inside the red zone to get that touchdown that I don't see the Raiders even trying to execute.
Well, but that's the Raiders of old.
Okay.
And we will see. We will see the scratch and sniff test will be what we see later this year. And that's with Carr or quarterback to be determined.
Captain's still holding it out that he's not coming back. And maybe this segues into the second topic we wanted to talk about, which was $40 million is a figure that I've heard batted around. I'd like to hear from our listeners what they would think if they were the GM. What would they think Carr is worth? What do you got? A guy with eight years experience, right? I mean, he's put up pretty decent numbers. He's been never been worse than middle of the pack. He's a guy that has absolutely been the leader of the franchise, the face of the franchise for the last 8 years. How much you think it's worth? Heidi, what are you thinking? What's a number that you as a GM can live with for Carr in the current position the Raiders are in?
Well, that's one thing that always amuses me because the Kardashians, they're always complaining. They're like, this guy stole $25 million a year from my team, and he got us nowhere.
Mm-hmm,
and I'm like, you do realize that he's one of the lower paid quarterbacks in the league,
right?
And
but he was the highest paid quarterback for a week.
Yeah, for like a week.
And
then like Matt Stafford took over.
You all are funny, but kind of go on. What are you telling us? Mm-hmm.
But you have to look at what other comparable quarterbacks are pulling in, and whether we want it to be 35-40 million a year or not. That's what it costs, and our options are to draft another quarterback, and this year's draft is a very poor crop of quarterbacks, so you're not going to want to draft a quarterback this year unless you're talking in the later rounds, some fly-by-night guy. And what about free agents pickup? Well, you're going to have to pay them $35-40 million, just like Carr. So you have to decide which quarterback you're going to give it to, because that's what it's going to cost.
Jacoby Brissett is not going to sign a contract for $35-40 million.
See, now let's talk about what goes into the thinking of a GM. This is where I always come in with my 2 cents to add to what are you paying. What is the cost of replacing Carr? What is the risk? What is the possibility that you may not get that replacement, as the Raiders didn't replace Gannon for 13 years, right? From 2004 when he left, 2004 to 2014, 11 years, 16 quarterbacks, 16 starting quarterbacks. How much you gonna pay for that? There's no guarantee that the guy you get in here, even if he's a tried and true veteran, is going to fit your offensive scheme, going to fit the chemistry of the team, going to have instant rapport with the receivers you have. What is the cost of that? How much is it going to cost you to keep going through quarterback after quarterback every 2 years, every year, whatever, to find Carr's replacement? To me, I think that goes into the price you pay your established franchise quarterback. Plus, he's a guy that doesn't get injured every year, like Mariota. Plus, he's a guy who basically has led a clean life and has a clean, wholesome image off the field, which makes for a good image, public face for the Raiders. How much is that worth? 40 million?
Nope.
I might want to get that down to 35.
Oh,
But
that's
again,
fine.
it's about how much it's going to cost you to replace him.
And if you decide to go with Jacoby Brissett for the year, you think the Kardashians are pissed off about the quarterback for the last 8 years? Wait until he takes over for $20 million a year.
No way.
The celebration of mediocrity has
if
been
you're
risen to a whole new level.
Jacoby Brissett as your starting quarterback, his agent is going to want $20 million a year.
At least.
No. Here's what I do, because I'm a sly mofo. Okay. I signed Jacoby Brissett before I get rid of Carr. That's one thing. Okay. I signed Jacoby Brissett for a $3 million deal to come in to be the backup quarterback, and then I deal Carr.
Fair enough.
Okay. You don't, like I said, you don't have to pay Jacoby Brissett a big time dollar. You get him in the camp and say, hey, you're going to be our backup quarterback. And when that is signed and you ain't reneging on that, okay, you deal Carr for, and Richie Riche was going like one, it sounded like a Lawrence Welk trade, a 1 and a 2 and a 3, except it was a 1 and a 2 and a 5, okay? A 1, a 2, but I would like to have my 2 this year, my 1 next year, and then the 5 later on, or a 1 and some 2s, like then it would be like a Lawrence Welk deal where he stutters. A 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a whatever. Okay.
Now, and wait a minute, Captain. In that solution, are you factoring in the cost of loss of chemistry, morale, and loss of leadership?
No. Okay. You're gonna take a step back, possibly. But Jacoby Brissett knows the McDaniels system, okay? And there's talk that we might be picking up Brandon Cooks, who knows the McDaniels system, okay?
Oh, the one with the U-Haul that's been with 4 teams in the last 9 years. Go Hall. Go ahead.
Not a favorite of mine, but he
Travelers, honey. Travelers got issues that the news media doesn't know about.
Okay, well, the point is that if you bring in Cooks, and you can probably get him for a 4. Okay, and you can get that 4 back by trading back and getting that 4 right back. So it's basically a free pick. Okay, you trade back in the 3rd round. Say, okay, we'll trade in the 3rd round. We acquire the 4s. Okay, well, there's a 4 for you. So there's the 4 for Brandon Cooks. Again, not my idea of a awesome guy, but under the McDaniels offense, he is exactly what when he was in the McDaniels offense, he had the best numbers of all the receivers there. Okay. And it was him and Gronk. Those were the numbers for that offense when they were playing together. Again, not my idea of a great time, but you get them for 1 or 2 years for a 4. Okay. That's not bad. And the other thing is this: Illuminor, you re-sign at right tackle. And a turnstile is better than friggin' Brandon Parker, but we already know that. Okay. So
we're drifting into offensive line. I want to talk.
Okay.
Well, I want to talk with your scenario of bringing Brissett in and then trading Carr for the goodie bag.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get that rapport with the team. And then this year, not even next year, this year, in the 2nd round, you get Ritter out of Cincinnati or Strong.
We're not talking about quarterbacks. Now, the first question I had asked
we are talking about quarterbacks. Those rookies.
But see, that's not what our starting question was. How much would you pay?
Okay. If we're gonna keep them, 2-year extension at most. So that
we forgot, Heidi. We forgot about how many years, right?
Okay. 2-year extension at most, with the third not even get with the third as a
How
team
much,
out,
Captain?
where he averages out to 28 to 32 in Vegas money.
No. I just want it just straight out. No.
The average.
You got a signing bonus. You're going to pay him some kind of bonus that always comes.
It'll be
what are we talking about per year?
It'll be a 2 to 3 year extension.
32 is an insult.
With $60 million guaranteed up front. But it'll be a 2 or 3 year extension.
30, I mean, even
over the three.
Mac got more than that.
Hey, Mr. Religious man who wants to get a Super Bowl. Okay, you understand that you have to give some to get, and we're going to give you a contract where you are paid $32 million, of which half of your games are tax-free for your ministry, and we get a whole bunch of other people to help.
What's the signing bonus on that 32?
That I can. You asked me what I wanted per year, and I'm saying about 32.
No, you want him gone. But what I'm saying is that if we're talking 32, then we're talking about a signing bonus, right? Are we talking? I mean, Cat Heidi 60 sounds good to me. Even Mac got that, right? When he went to Chicago, he got 60.
But the signing bonus goes against the cap, right?
Well, not all of it. You can spread it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they want to front load it. But the Raiders do not want that no trade clause. They want to be able to deal him if they get the right offer. But look for
what
it to
do y'all
be
think about that?
2 to 3 year extension, $60 million up front guaranteed, and it's going to be around $35-40 million a year.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, like you said, the Kardashians have been going on and on about a very underpaid Carr compared to the other quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think we're going to see a trend of signings almost at the 40 million. Hey, wait a minute, Captain. Is Dak signed yet down there in Dallas?
Yeah.
He's at 40 million.
He's at 40 million. You see, it's only the owners that can stop this trend of escalating quarterback salaries. You're going to see what you consider to be mediocre quarterbacks getting paid the market rate. That's just going to be a given. It's going to upset you. It's going to cause you to go to, your stomach to rumble. But in fact, you're going to see that rate. Only the owners can stop this trend. Only the owners can put in a cap. And I think they're going to have to do it to stop the escalation. I mean, at this rate, Heidi, they could be at 50 million.
They are. Look at Mahomes.
They could be at 50 million in just a couple of years. The owners are the only ones that can stop what's offending people. The numbers.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense in proportion to the value of the quarterback. And again, value has multiple meanings. There's a lot of things that go into a value equation. And while you might think, oh, Dak's, what is it, 32 million in 2022? All right. See, that's what we wanted to talk about. And they said, oh, is this true, Ozzy? Mahomes is making 45 million? Wow.
Yeah, and he's averaging nearly.
Wow.
And that's going to screw up their cap in no time.
Oh, I can't wait for the day where they can't pay a Thomas or they can't pay
Kelsey.
Kelsey. I can't wait for that day where they have to make that decision like Denver had to decide. Quarterback or Von Miller? Quarterback or Von Miller?
And they ended up with neither.
I'm sorry, Richie Rich. That was a great one, Heidi. And see, that's what can happen. If you start getting into those salaries, we lock them in at 40 now, we can avoid the escalation to 50.
Well, the NFL had a huge problem, 10, 15 years ago, and that was the rookie salary cap.
Correct.
Rookies were holding out and getting the biggest, fattest contracts in the league, and they hadn't even thrown a pass or taken a snap. And the league stepped in and removed that. So
That's
it
right.
is possible for this quarterback spending to be reined in, but it's something that the owners in the NFL have to come up with. It's
They're
if
gonna have to cap it.
the players, I mean, more power to them. If I had a job that was willing to pay me $40 million,
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn it down.
And see, Captain, that's the thing about the escalating salaries and these ridiculous out of proportion salaries to the guys you're talking about. The owners are driving this. They're the ones that are bidding more and more to keep everybody from getting their guy. And until they stop doing that, we could easily see. I can't believe $45 million for Mahomes. So I'm choking on that number.
Average of 50.
Oh my God.
By the time his contract's over, an average of $50 million a year.
Oh,
His total contract was like 450.
It wasn't. I mean, I never look at those numbers because listen, by the time they get to the out years, they move that money is all moved around anyway. I mean, they've moved it or restructured it to, so they could sign somebody else. I mean, we've all seen that happen. So that's why I stopped even looking at the out years in particular. I just look at this year, and then they want to structure it as it's a difference if they structure it as a bonus versus a practice, a fee for coming to practices and all seasons. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can tweak your cap. And that's what
I'll say. I apologize. I was killing some trolls, so that's why I was silent.
Oh, okay. You
didn't kill Bear, did you?
You didn't kill Bear.
Who?
Yeah.
Well, there was a Facebook user that knows my Facebook name, Raider Ladybug. I don't know if that was Bear or not.
No, I don't know if it. No, I didn't kill the Facebook user. I was killing them on YouTube. So no, I didn't kill Bear. Yeah, they were YouTube trolls. They were just. As soon as I saw the names, like, you don't remember me, and I'm like, yeah, I do, and I'm ready to zap them as soon as they got stupid on me again.
And while we're talking about Carr, and I wanted to segue into this and looking at other quarterback situations around the league and just getting you guys input into them. I mean, we can start with the AFC West. I mean, I kind of think except for Denver, I think our quarterbacks are pretty solid, right? We've got Herbert in San Diego. He's going to be there a while. Of course, Mahomes in Kansas City.
They're both going to do fantastic.
Yeah, and so that's basically how that's going to go. But now I want to go to the AFC North and start talking about Cleveland and Baker Mayfield. Cincinnati is set, right, with Burrow.
For sure.
Pittsburgh. They
could really use someone.
Captain, have you seen the little statements the Pittsburgh Steelers? Mason Rudolph is our starter, and we are confident, that we will. I'll say, bless their hearts. And then, of course, the Ravens with Lamar, who's going to be returning from injury.
No, so, Richie, Denver does not have a quarterback.
And we brushed by that, in deference to you, Rich, because we didn't want to make too much for the fact that, basically since Manning, the chair has been vacant. So now we go to the AFC South. What are we looking at there? Jacksonville's actually pretty set, right? Trevor's there. I've heard some rumors about Tennessee and Tannehill. Has anybody else heard any rumors?
See, yeah, and I think that Tennessee might be one of those landing spots for uh, Rodgers, because I don't think that they have the cap hell that the Packers do. They have a team that is maybe a player or two away from a AFC championship to a Super Bowl run. And I think that they are a viable option for Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I don't
And
know.
we saw what happened with the Rams just picking up Stafford. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we still go into the Colts.
And
what in the world is going on with Carson Wentz?
And that's the other place. I think that Rodgers might be another place where Rodgers winds up. It's like, do you want to go to the Colts or do you want to go to the Titans? Because if I'm Aaron Rodgers, you are going to a conference that has a lot more. I think the teams are a lot better, whereas the NFC is kind of wide open to get it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Rodgers can pick his poison. He can go to Pittsburgh. He can go to Tennessee. He can go to.
I can't imagine Rodgers in Pittsburgh, but and we're just going through the divisions for the reason. Now, there's one more team in the AFC South I forgot. Help me out here.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have. Jacksonville, the Colts, Tennessee, and
is it the Texans?
Yes.
No, I know you want to talk about Watson. I know you do.
Badly.
Mm-hmm.
If ever a situation is being totally mismanaged by a franchise, and that would be Watson with the Texans. I can't imagine how they could even dream of getting a better team together for those fans down there without that quarterback spot being settled.
And it's not going to be until such a time that either, and I think Richie Riche was saying that there are a lot of the young ladies have been bought off, but there's at least 2 or 3 that aren't budging. They want to go to trial.
Mm-hmm.
And until that situation gets resolved, Watson's in limbo. The Texans are not going to pay him play him, and their asking price keeps going up. And if I'm Houston, I'm taking a deal to get Watson off my books and get him
out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, give him a new start. And you don't do it by asking for, Howdy, correct me. Have you seen these
3 number ones? 3 number ones.
Plus other, quote, assets.
Yeah.
I don't think the Texans plan to get rid of him at all. I have another thought altogether.
No, and nobody's going to even open up their pocketbook for him until they know that he's actually going to be able to play.
The other part of that, and you're right, the other part of that is he's been sitting for a year and a half.
Yeah.
The inactivity. Don't tell me that you could just press some kind of magic button and suddenly all your quarterback instinct, skills, health, velocity of throwing the ball, everything is suddenly going to just come back to where it was in 2020. He's been sitting a year and a half. And the longer he sits, not playing, not practicing, not going any off-season workouts, nothing. The longer this goes on, his value's got to be dropping like a rock. What are the Texans thinking of?
They are wanting to destroy his career for some reason.
Thank you.
Which is stupid.
It's no question in my mind. They want to destroy him. And I don't know what got them to that place where they want to destroy his career, but it's very, very clear to me that they want him out of football.
Who was it? O'Brien. He laid the foundation for it. I mean, he traded away everyone for nothing.
Yeah. He got rid of D-Hop. He got rid of other players. And then he sits in the organization like I said, it's not just O'Brien at that point because O'Brien's been gone for a year. The
Mhm.
organization is out to screw him as well, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
It totally is unfortunate. And now we go to the NFC, and I don't think I've covered all of the AFC though. Well, the AFC East. How could I forget? New England's pretty set at quarterback, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Miami.
It's not. And I mean, it depends upon what the coach in Miami, if he's going to either kowtow to the owner if the owner stays, or if the owner gets bounced, depending upon the issues with Flores and the litigation there. If Ross gets bounced, then it throws up into a big turmoil because Ross wanted Tua. Flores did not, and in the long run, Flores was correct. Tua is not the answer for that quarterback there, but the owner's saying, "There's your quarterback. That's your player. Use him." And Flores won in spite of him.
I mean, really, I can't think. But now let's go to another team that we ask every year. Them poor Jets. What? I think I may have watched one Jet game. Anybody watch more than one Jet game?
I did.
I looked at that poor child.
You're a Jet all the way from your first cigarette.
I feel so bad for every quarterback that's drafted into New York because they're doomed. They're starting with 3 strikes against them.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Over the last 10 years, I mean, you've had 3 different quarterbacks, and I'm not even going back farther than that, right? Gino, decent. And then that poor child that's down in Carolina, I need Darnold.
Yes,
and now
he's out, and he'll be out pretty soon as well. He'll be out of Carolina.
There's no question about it. People thought that Darnold's problem was the Jets. I kept telling them it was not. The boy has a learning curve of Mount Everest. I mean, he does not learn from his mistakes, and they found that out, of course. But they had to find out, right? They had to make sure it wasn't that Jet curse that was, trailing on him. And now you got poor little Zach Wilson. I don't know what to say. You said you watched more than one game.
No. I was being facetious. I was doing my song and dance. When you're the swingin'est thing, little boy. You're a man, little man. You're a king.
Yeah.
You're never disconnected. Went off on your own. When
companies, they can kick dance all the way into the end zone once in a while. Although there are signs of life up there in New York. I'm not sure that Zach is the answer. They may have struck out again. We'll find out this year, right? And now our 4th team in the AFC East, right? We said the Patriots were settled, Miami, and the Jets, and now give me the 4th team.
Bills.
Settled.
And of course the Bills. The
Are
Bills
set.
have really a top situation. I'm a little worried about them using Josh for all those running plays. About his future health. Maybe not now, but 5 years from now.
Yeah.
I mean, you to me, they're using him way too much for the running game to get that running yardage. And he's definitely a threat, no doubt about it. But what's that going to do to him in the future is what I'm a little worried about with the Bills. But I like that guy. And now we go to the NFC, West.
Wait, before we go, and this is about Allen in Buffalo. Okay. All quarterbacks that have had legs, Randall Cunningham, even Michael Vick, the ones that were elusive and could run, Cam Newton, eventually they weren't running quarterbacks anymore.
They couldn't be.
They
They
couldn't
couldn't be.
So,
Not at their age.
right. If the Bills can lighten up the load that Allen has so that he's not required to run as much,
Right.
then it will be better for them in the long run. They need to improve their running backs so that they're not relying on Allen, because Allen can do it, and he can do it this year, and he did it next year, and he might be able to do it that third year, but eventually he's going to get hurt, and it's not going to be good for them.
And just the wear and tear of being expected to do 75 yards. I mean, maybe he is the next Cam Newton, as somebody pointed out to me. I mean, maybe he has the physical durability to take on that role, 75 yards a game, 300 yards passing. Maybe
Yeah, but where's Cam Newton now?
The last time I saw him was on the number 5 freeway. He's on his way to somewhere to interview for yet another job. I don't know. And while we're talking about McDaniels, just a segue, I'm glad you mentioned Cam. What happened there? What happened with Cam and McDaniels? I mean,
well, before he drafted Mac Jones, he had Cam Newton, and they were one game away from the playoffs, Peggy, with Cam Newton. One game away from the playoffs. So even with Cam Newton, who is a less than valuable asset, they were one game away from the playoffs with Cam Newton. And then when when Mac Jones came in there, I think it's Mac and Zach, in the AFC East. But when Mac Jones came in there, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but people were saying that it was put out that Mac Jones was teaching the playbook to Cam Newton.
Well, Cam was out because of that COVID. I mean, there was some politics going on there too about Cam not wanting to get that COVID shot, and he was absent from the facilities for a lot. But I'm looking back at McDaniel's reputation as a quarterback whisperer, and when you have a talent like Cam Newton at your disposal, where you can design plays.
And they did.
Why couldn't they? No, he did not use the full breadth of Cam's talents. Now, it might have been Cam.
It was a combination of that. They got Cam Newton 7 years too late. They used him effectively for his age and for wear and tear.
He ran a lot more than he should have.
Yeah, and they couldn't get the full breadth of Cam Newton. You get Cam Newton in the first 3 years down in Carolina where he's doing the Superman stuff. That Patriot team would have gone to the playoffs with Cam
That's
Newton.
an entirely different quarterback.
Exactly.
It is.
Yeah, so they had Cam Newton, but he wasn't Superman Cam. He was off, broke, and wearing a Jewish lady's babushka Cam. Okay.
I know, and it's just I'd expected McDaniels to get a lot more out of him, I guess, is where I'm coming from with all that. I just expected him to bring back that spark that Cam had totally lost after he lost that Super Bowl. Because see, that's where really the downhill really began for Cam. He
hasn't been the same since.
No, that thing sitting there, him sitting in those post Super Bowl conferences, pouting and carrying on with his lips stuck out, that was real. That was, I'm mad, I'm taking my toys, I'm going home now.
Yeah.
And he never came back. Not really. Certainly there was no spark, no fire in the belly, no desire. I did not see it. He never, ever played at that level again.
Von Miller snuffed him out.
No,
he did.
Hey, sometimes you meet guys that are just as good as you, Cam. Now I wanted to move on to the NFC West and just review the quarterback positions there. And I want to start at San Francisco. What you all were thinking about that Garoppolo situation? I keep hearing mixed news. What's up?
I think even San Francisco doesn't believe in him.
I mean, Captain, you had the same point of view.
Well, I think that Jimmy G is, if Jimmy G's smart, he'll sign a long-term contract with Playgirl or whatever the well, I'm going back old because I guess I'm thinking there are magazines that are still worthwhile. Or he can get like a
Penthouse.
porn channel,
Uh-huh.
money on the porn channel, as long as he keeps in fit. Because remember, this used to be up here for me and it's gone down. So as long as Jimmy
As long
G,
as he keeps it all in the shoulders and the,
Hey,
Yeah.
he's hot. He is still hot. I mean,
hey, I
he
mean,
really
you
is.
know, I can't say much, but I keep hearing rumors about them replacing, and it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
going to be Trey Lance either.
yeah. Well, they're gonna find a spot for him, and I'm not sure what his contract status is. I'm not sure if he's still tied to them. I think he has like a couple years left on that contract. So they're
Yeah.
going to find. Remember, there are quarterback needy teams all around the NFL. They're going to find a spot for him and get some picks back. Now, granted, they're not going to get back the picks that they gave up in the long run, but they're going to get some picks back. They're going to take they're going to find a quarterback to help out Trey Lance. Okay, because Trey Lance still doesn't quite get it for in San Francisco. They want him to, but they're going to have a quarterback kind of like a Fitzpatrick like quarterback that will be able to help him out. So if he doesn't get it, they can insert plug and play with said quarterback. But Garoppolo, they're going to get rid of for the best money or picks they can get.
Well, I want to tickle your fancy, Captain. What about Carr to San Francisco?
They give me enough good
about
picks.
that?
Yeah. Hey, like I said, and remember,
Kyle Shanahan has to be absolutely over the moon about having a guy like that.
Yeah, but see, but if Carr goes to San Francisco, they're going to start giving me some of those picks that they wasted on Jimmy G, and I don't know how to give those picks, but I'm getting some good picks.
You're gonna dig it out of them. They'll never be after Debo. They won't be drafting anything of that level for some time after you get finished with them. Huh?
Exactly. Like I said, I'm doing a Lawrence Welk trade, a 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 3.
Yep, I don't blame you. And Heidi, I mean, San Francisco is a landing spot. If you decide to deal Carr, what are you thinking?
Absolutely. If the terms are acceptable and to the Raiders' benefit, go for it. I don't think
Shanahan and him together.
I don't think that any of us were wrong when we said that it would be best for Carr to go elsewhere.
Right.
Because I wasn't saying that he would go elsewhere. I was saying it would be best for him to go. But
yeah,
if that means going to San Francisco and the Raiders get adequate compensation, I'm fine with that.
And of course, our Bay brothers and sisters will be horrified and shocked that we even uttered it out of our mouths. The only reason we can even talk that way is because we're not from the Bay Area, right?
Well, I hate that would happen to him because I like him. I mean, that's quite a punishment. But as a football fan, if it ends up being helping my team get a better chance to win, I'm going to defer to that.
Oh, Edward is talking about Jimmy G going to Miami. That might not be a bad match if you think about it. I mean, Miami doesn't know a good quarterback when it season anyway, so
Miami's been searching for a quarterback.
They'll accept it.
Left. Yeah,
Jimmy G would love Miami nightlife.
We're moving through the NFC West, and I'm going right up to Seattle. What's going on with Russ Wilson?
Your guess is as good as mine on that one, Heidi. That's all I can say about that. If you got anything to add to it, I'm all ears because we know Russell Wilson ain't gonna be there. It's just that who are they going to get, and they're in the carousel. It's just that we'll see who they get.
Well, I think it would be best for Russell Wilson to go elsewhere for his career. And
I agree.
Pete Carroll, I mean, he's past his time.
Didn't he just get an extension though? I mean, I read that they extended Carroll. And see, those owners, that's Paul Allen up there in Seattle, isn't it? Those owners up there are those hands-off kind of owners. They're kind of like guys who can run it for them and only bother me when you need money, you know? You need me to write a check.
That's it. Paul Allen is a multi-billionaire.
Right.
At least they're not like Dan Snyder. And I am sabotaging my entire team. You must work with these players. Come.
Pete's been there way too long. I mean, the stagnation. And then he reminds me of Gruden. I mean, in his slavish devotion to the good old boy coaching network. I mean to tell you, he keeps guys on his staff that have long proven that they can't improve their units. Ken Norton Jr. being a prime example. I mean, when I heard they
finally ditched him, right?
They ditched him this year,
Yeah.
but I don't think that was Pete's idea. Pete would have been just as happy as long as he kept Darrell Bevel around. I mean, there's guys he keeps on his staff, and the Seattle fans complain all the time. Why are you keeping coaches that are not performing, whose units are not performing? Why do they get to stay 2 or 3 years longer than they do?
Okay, Ed Winchell is right. Paul Allen is dead, but there is somebody.
Allen is dead. Okay. Yeah, okay. I haven't been keeping up with the ownership there.
No, I looked it up because I didn't remember that either.
Is there family ownership? That's the question I would say now, because I haven't heard of a new owner or the Seahawks being sold.
Right.
So
that's
trust. There must be a trust running the franchise, or one of his heirs took over.
Well, okay. The owner is Jody Allen, spelled Jody, which is rare. And I will obviously, Peggy, you know why that's rare.
Yes, I know that is rare.
I'm just saying that. Heidi, you might know why that name is significant to me. Okay. Without saying anything else, but it's Jody Allen. And that is the Seahawks owner. So I'm sure that is in the family. I don't know who. I'll have to look on that. It says Seahawks owner Jody Allen is very involved and not happy. And then it goes ...
Well, I mean, how could you be happy with the years of after the Super Bowl? Basically, the team got on a treadmill and they've never gotten off.
Especially after this past year. I mean, this past year was a nightmare for them.
You know, and they can blame it on, whatever they want to blame it on. But, Pete really hasn't had an original idea since, well, I don't know. I
don't know when Pete had an original idea. Even when he was running things down in SC, he had, and I'm gonna say a swear word. He had Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian running his offense.
Okay,
and that's why they won the national championship, because it was Sarkisian and Kiffin who in college were very good offensive play callers. And folks, by the way, if you don't know, it was Sarkisian that our Al Davis was going after.
Mm-hmm.
Did a bait and switch when Sarkisian
ended up with Kiffin.
And when Sarkisian, and I actually know some stories about this, and they thought that we were going to get Sarkisian as our head coach with Lane Kiffin as our OC, and it didn't turn out that way. That's
and I did. And I want to now switch from Seattle and go to the desert. And you must have heard all the hullabaloo down in Arizona about Kyler Murray. And, my most recently.
He's taking his toys and going home.
Oh, he is. He's not playing with us anymore. He has left the sandpit. The first rumor was when he deleted all his social media. Now, me being old school, I'm like, well, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything to me. But of course, the world was a Twitter. He's now deleted all his references to Arizona. Then we have this bizarre statement that came out.
Oh, I want to hear this. I didn't hear this then.
Yeah, a bizarre statement where basically Kyler Murray is recapping all the good times that he had in Arizona, you know, like one of those Oscar award speeches where they thank all the little people, you know, who made everything possible. And the only thing was missing was, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Okay? The world was a Twitter again. Oh Lord, he must be leaving. Then we find out he's actually getting ready to start year 4. He's in a contract year. Contract negotiations have been stalled.
Okay, well, if I'm Kyler Murray, and actually the one thing that I did hear about Kyler Murray was, and they talked right to the Cardinals management. It said, it's either me or Dude, and Dude is the head coach.
Oh boy.
And it's like, you pick who you want. Now, if I'm Kyler Murray, well, first off, I'd be black, shorter, and I have really nice hair. But if I was Kyler Murray,
really short, okay,
I play baseball. I would say
right down in Arizona. Hey, that's the home of spring training.
I would say, you know what? I did this. I tried. The Arizona Foundation who's obviously dating back to when the Bidwells owned it years and years and years ago. They don't really take care of their, they don't really take care of
the Bidwells.
Okay. And it's the same, it's the same, if not the same. I would say I can play baseball, and you know what? I can play baseball for a hell of a lot longer.
For a lot more money.
For a lot more money.
Mm-hmm. In better weather.
In better weather. and what I don't know is his rights still granted by the A's? That I don't know. If he's a free agent or not, I don't know. But I play baseball. I play baseball, and I would enjoy it. It's less wear and tear, more money, and you go home during the winter.
So how do you? What have you heard? Is it some kind of thing going on between him and the coach?
I honestly don't know. I mean,
I thought it was just a bunch of contract posturing. That a deal hasn't been done, and this is his year. I mean, maybe he's disappointed a deal hasn't been done yet. Maybe he's asking for that $40 million, right? That got, right?
Well, if he got $40 million, he better gain about 6 or 7 inches.
Well, I think Kyler Murray is more worthy of $40 million than Dak Prescott. That's just my opinion, but
it's all in how you look at it. I thought Kyler had a great situation down there. He has an offense that's designed around him. His O-line is improving. I mean, they went from like 28th to like 16th this year, which is pretty darn good. Good leap, because I was worried about his protection down there. And then they got him weapons. They brought in Diop.
I can absolutely see that it's an attitude problem with Kyler. Sinister Rain. I think that's very accurate, because even as a rookie, he was cocky, belligerent, and thought the world revolved around him, and whatever he wanted should happen.
I've heard that too.
Now he's been successful and he's done a good job. So now his head's even bigger. And I can totally see that.
It's a contract year. I mean, he absolutely wants a deal done, I'm pretty sure. And that's what I think all this hullabaloo is about. And now let's go to the world champions in the NFC West, the Rams. Did you hear Donald's statement that if everybody else comes back, I'll be back? What do you make of that?
Does that include Wentworth, who knows he's retiring at the age of 40?
Oh, is that Weddle? You talking about Eric Weddle, right?
No. I'm talking about his offensive
I
tackle.
meant Andrew. Yeah, the one that we almost got right. Whitworth,
Right.
the one
No,
of the Raiders almost picked up.
But
No,
yeah,
that
Weddle's gone. He's
Weddle's
retired.
gone.
He's retired a second time. He's gone.
No,
Okay.
the one you're thinking of is Roger Saffold.
Oh, Saffold. I'm sorry. That's the one I'm always thinking about both of them. Okay.
Yeah,
But-
totally different. No, totally different thing.
So, I mean, when a player makes a statement like that, what's he really saying? What's Donald saying to us?
If that's all bluster and fluff, because they're not going to bring everybody back, because he could say, Jimmy Rogers is the water boy. Oh, you didn't bring Jimmy Rogers back? The water boy? I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. You know,
I'm out of here. Okay.
Right, Heidi. You know, it's like, oh, you didn't bring back, the person who, changes, wraps my legs every day,
That's right.
every Sunday. So, I'm out of here. But I think maybe Donald was speaking to the chemistry, right, of the squad. I mean, when you have something that's really, really good, you don't want to see it split up. What do you think? I mean, I think
if I were him, I wouldn't want it split up. I would want to have another run.
And of course, we got to be proud of Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a guy who labored for 12 years.
In Detroit, which is the best way to say Detroit. You want to class up Detroit, you always say, hey, I want to go to Detroit, because
Right.
you go to Detroit. No.
And what Matt Stafford did is what Derek Carr is capable of doing.
Correct.
He
right
he leaves Las Vegas, goes into the right spot, and he's
in.
world champion.
I think the other thing about Matt Stafford, and I want to talk about it in terms of vis-a-vis Cooper Kupp. And one of the things that people have forgotten about, because he's Stafford, because he labored in obscurity so long, is a Megatron. Okay, and Megatron got in the Hall of Fame this year, didn't he? Didn't he get in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know.
But the whole point is, yes, he did.
Yes, Megatron's in the Hall of Fame.
And please correct me, my commenters, if I'm wrong. Megatron. He made Megatron, and I can't emphasize that too much. Who your quarterback is matters. You can have all the talent in the world. I mean, world class, HOF. But if you don't get married up with the right guy and the right offensive situation, then nobody will ever know. And I see Stafford doing the same thing with Kupp. Kupp had a wonderful year. 145 catches, 1,947 yards, 16 touchdowns. He didn't have a double. He hadn't had, in his 5-year career, he hadn't had a double touchdown year except in 2019. It was the only time. And he had 10 touchdowns. Before, every other year, it's been single digits. Then he has this explosion. And the only factor is Matt Stafford. I don't know what Matt does. He has some sort of magic wand. He throw some pretty ugly interceptions, but you know what? All the great quarterbacks do throw some pretty ugly ones. They stink.
Kenny Stabler had several 5 interception games. I think he might even have had a 6 interception game.
You've been watching Tom Brady for the last 2 years. It's like PU.
Actually, I can stand hearing that name because I know that we don't bring him up as much. So
no. But I mean, I think all the great quarterbacks, have some pretty ugly throws. And of course, the gunslinger of gunslingers, Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Also in the Hall of Fame, also with only one Super Bowl ring, but nobody mind him throwing 25 interceptions in 1 year. I mean, it happens. So I think Stafford really, really deserved. Let's go to that NFC North, that division, and let's start with Detroit and poor little Golf.
Detroit.
And
It's
poor
tough.
little
Yeah,
what can I say?
our quarterback is Jason Goff, and I felt in your general direction.
What did we say about Detroit? I thought they were scrappy. They didn't win many games, but I thought they were pretty scrappy this year. I was kind of proud of them because they fought a few people to the right to the finish.
Yeah, they actually were. Their team is a lot better than their record indicated
I
because
thought so.
they were involved in a lot of close games that they
A
lost.
lot of heartbreakers.
Literally
A
in the
lot.
last minutes of the game. Okay. And I don't know. I'm not sure whether it was the fact that Campbell as their coach was just outclassed and outcoached or what his issue was. But if they bring in better coaches underneath him, I think they'll be a decent team because again, I'm not getting ahead of myself. Actually, I am. If Green Bay loses the man, okay, and Chicago has no clue what's going on there either, other than they have the Buckeye that's supposed to be.
Oh no, you're stealing our thunder. We're getting ready to go through it team by team. But
I'm just saying, but if they class up the coaching staff in that
I
class,
think you're right.
they can win some games.
And first time coaches, Heidi, I know you'll agree with me. They got trouble staffing their, finding really top guys. All the top guys go with the top coaches, and guys that are first timers are kind of stuck.
Look at Bill Belichick's career when he started.
Ugh.
I mean, he got run out of Cleveland
with mediocrity in his coaching staff. He just couldn't.
Yeah.
He could never find
we're not going to talk about
the guys that he wanted to find. But let's go now to Minnesota, and we got to talk about Kirk Cousins.
No, we don't.
You
like that? You like?
I know you like that. Well, we want to talk about Kirk in the most respectful way that we can. I want to say that he's Derek Carr, but he's not there. He's close though. He's close.
I think Carr is a level above
Right.
Cousins.
You got to expand on him. He's like Derek Carr liked.
Yes, I like the pocket thing, and he doesn't run much. Some games, I mean, the guy is 30, 35 points. Wow, light him up. And then other games, well, we wonder who got off the plane. But I hear rumors about Kirk. I hear rumors that since they've had that coaching change, because that he's gone. Have you heard the same stuff going on about Kirk?
I have not heard anything about him, but I like him. I like him as a person, but he's just not that great of a quarterback.
And I keep trying to figure out what's holding Kirk back.
A team, maybe.
That could be it.
Okay.
But let's face it, Minnesota has done all they can to give him time. He's got Cook right there in the backfield. I mean, he's got some pretty nice little weapons there.
But his entire career, he has been in places that he didn't have the support that he needed. So
I thought he had it up in Minnesota.
He did, but what did Minnesota do? They traded away his best receiver to the Bills.
That's true.
Diggs, yeah.
Diggs.
But Diggs was unhappy. He wasn't getting targeted enough.
Dalvin Cook is injured a lot.
Yes.
Okay. And they did have an extra good running back. So, that actually, if God forbid, I don't remember what the guy's name was, but he actually bailed him out. Jefferson, the kid that was out of is that the one out of LSU? Is that the one out of Florida? Because there were two.
No, Jefferson. I thought he was from Carter. Well, anyway, Jefferson. That was the one I wanted for the Raiders. I wanted them to draft Jefferson. That a surprise. He had the sophomore slump, but he still did okay.
Come back. He'll come back. He'll be a decent. And you got Thielen, who is like a tall, lanky version of Renfro that catches everything you throw at him.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
when it can get open.
And Tito, Washington didn't want him.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that he tried to leave. He left because he wasn't welcome there anymore. Yeah.
They just let him just hang in limbo.
They just kept franchise tagging him. That they weren't gonna give him a contract or anything.
As if they were waiting for something to happen. Lord knows at the quarterback position, Washington. But we'll get to Washington in a moment. Let's move on to the Bears. And I'm not quite sure whether replacing Nagy is really gonna help the Bears at all. They got an RPO quarterback. They made the mistake with Trubisky, although I never thought it was a mistake. I just thought they never had the coaching.
Well, wait on Trubisky. He might be our number 2 quarterback.
Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, he'd be okay. They gave up way too much to get Trubisky, though. Yeah. Way too much.
And then they turn around and complicate it by giving up the sun, the moon, and the stars for Mac. Okay? Not a well-run franchise, which is why both the GM and the head coach were fired. Now, they're going
to be better with Matt Eberflus, though, because he's a defensive-minded coach. Mm-hmm. And I think the Bears have almost always worked better with a defensive-minded coach. And it's gone that way. I mean, even when Ditka was the coach, he was an offensive-minded guy, but he had Buddy Ryan with the 46 defense. When they've had defensive coaches, they've done better overall. And you think about the offensive coaches they've had, with Nagy, and then old boy that was the offensive.
Oh, well, Trestman. Trestman is the one I'm thinking about.
Right. Mark Trestman, who, I mean,
of course, I pox on the Bears' house forever for firing Lovey. 10-6, the only coach that brought him back to a Super Bowl after 1985. So to me, anything bad that happens to him serves him right. That's the way I look at it. You had your coach.
And Lovey is a defensive-minded coach.
And yes, that's success, and they've been successful with that model, but it's
their problem hasn't been the defense.
No.
So
they have zero. And anybody, by the way, that's thinking Allen Robinson is somebody that should be on the Raiders' radar, think again. I mean, this guy, never pick him for your fantasy team. And of course, anybody who's thinking that this guy is going to burn and take the top off the top of the defense and stretch the field, whatever words you want to say, it's not going to happen. Robinson hasn't had a decent season since he left Jacksonville. But the Bears had him, thank God. I understand that.
Is that on Robinson, or is that on who's throwing him the ball?
I don't even know now. I mean, I've looked at Tim Brown. He had 11 people threw him ball. He didn't have no problem. I mean, either you got it or you don't. And it does have something to do with your coordinators too, which once again, the Bears are clueless. And now we go to Green Bay. Green Bay. Captain, I heard Aaron was building a house in Tennessee. Is this true?
No, he's had that property for years.
Okay.
And they only soaked up that story to get it out there and for the shock and awe, because it was a slow sports day.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's a California guy, though. He might like the weather there a lot better than Green Bay.
Yeah. I mean, Tennessee is, and we went over this. Tennessee is a good landing spot for him, and so is Indianapolis. Although it's kind of, I'd rather go to Tennessee personally. I think Tennessee has I think the cost of living, you can get more in Tennessee, but that beside the point. What in Green Bay? We're talking Green Bay now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Green Bay allegedly, and I don't know how they're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, there is a
deal. Tito.
There is a deal where Rodgers will be paid $50 million a year, and he's going to have his boy come with him for 35 a year. So you're gonna have, maybe it's a little high on Devontae. Maybe it's 20. Well, no, cool, probably 30.
Devontae wants over 30.
Right.
Yeah, I
Because,
mean isn't that one of the rumors? Devontae's coming here, reunited again.
Devontae isn't coming here.
Yeah,
Devontae is not coming here. Devontae
29 years old. That immediately closed the book for me. But okay,
and the point is, you can't give these guys $75 to $80 million tied up in two guys.
It's not even going there. And let's talk about another rumor that I've heard out of Green Bay is that they're shopping Love, that they're actually trying to trade
I have
him.
heard as well. I have heard that.
Now, I can't imagine what capital any GM in his right mind would play for a guy who's had maybe 2 starts in 3 years. Aren't I right? Maybe he started twice. Maybe a few mop-up games. I mean,
yeah, very limited experience.
I can't imagine what kind of capital he's going to fetch. What is this? Some kind of means of making Aaron happy?
Well, okay. If you're going to go there, I bring you an example, none other than some guy by the name of Brett Favre, who had like 1 or 2 starts in Atlanta behind Billy Joe Tolliver. It can be done, but obviously we're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback and Love. Okay, I know it's apples to kumquats. Okay,
and thank you, Raider Casper, for clearing up the Rodgers to Tennessee story. And I have heard that the Titans have shut that down.
Well, and I will tell you one thing though, Rodgers is the type of person that them getting rid of Love would make him very happy. He is. His attitude is terrible.
I mean, whatever works, because obviously one day Green Bay is going to have to contemplate the day when Rodgers retires, and that's initial caps. The day when Rodgers retires, just like New Orleans should have known there was going to be a day when Breeze retires.
Well, Pittsburgh overshot,
and a day when Roethlisberger retires. Okay,
right? So. But here's the thing, though. I mean, it's like, you can get rid of them, but again, it's an ego thing with Rodgers. I think that they will do everything they can. I really think they're going to do everything they can to keep him there, but they really need to figure out who their next quarterback is going to be. And if it isn't Love, then ship him for as much as you can get for him. Maybe like a 2 ham sandwiches and a subscription.
Subscription to Penthouse, right?
I'll take him as our backup.
Actually, I was going more raw, baby. Hustler, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Hustler. Although
I mean,
in a pitch. Okay.
Now let's move on to the NFC East. We still have time because we still have to do the NFC South, and I want to talk about the Redskins first.
Who?
The Commandos.
I don't have my PC hat on. I'm so sorry for those who are offended. They don't want me to start calling them the real name, right?
I told you the story about the Redskins chick at the stadium this year, right?
We're running out of time, so we need to talk about their quarterback situation. I mean,
I think they got their quarterback. And
are you talking about Heineke?
Yeah. I think that Heineke is a fine quarterback. They just need to make sure that they give more. I mean, the defense is good to go. Heineke is not bad. They need to have better weapons offensively because that defense makes that team run. If they think that they can get better, great. But I think that Heineke in a better offense will work for them.
I mean, I hate to say it, but that would be the equivalent of using a VW Jetta when what I really need is, an X-Class Mercedes-Benz. Now, I'm not saying that the Jetta isn't a fine car.
Yeah, it is.
But it can only bring me but so far. I mean, I'm just saying that as a general thing about Heineke. I watched him a lot. I like his skill set.
Yeah.
but he doesn't have a big arm.
No.
He doesn't read defenses very quickly.
No.
And I think those things will get better, but you can't replace that big arm.
Yeah, well, but you know what? This will be his third year. I think that he can, there are other quarterbacks that didn't have big arms. Now, granted, I'm going back to Fran Tarkington. I know I'm way back. But you can work within your parameters. I'm sure that there are other quarterbacks that don't have big arms, and they've done okay.
No decent quarterback is going to want to play in Washington, though.
Now, why would you say that, Heidi?
Because they are foobarred.
I mean, really, you don't have any clue of what that fool Snyder's up to. Congress is after him. They're subpoenaing all kinds of records. Who knows what's going on? And
get it out. Get those words out. I want to see all of that stuff because old boy was a sacrificial lamb. I want to see all of that stuff come out. I'm telling you, there's stuff to get out there.
And I'd love to see that.
I'm afraid
just ridiculous.
If it comes out, it could destroy the league. I think the information's that bad.
Good.
I think they got a hold of a lot of people emailing a lot of other people about things that they would not want to see on the front page of the Washington Post. Okay, let's just put it like that. And so the NFL's got a problem because Congress is after those emails.
Okay. So there were a lot of powerful people in those emails.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Who has them? That's the point. Because
Snyder filed them with the court.
Okay, but the NFL has a habit of losing information. They lost the tapes for the Cheatriots. They lost the credentials of what the balls were accredited at for velocity of air.
And they did, and we can understand it. And what we want to do now is move on to the Cowboys. I think most of us are pretty happy with this. Most Cowboy fans are pretty happy with their quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. Although there's grumbling from the Cowboy fans I actually listen to, which ain't many, about the discipline of that team. Okay?
Well, what discipline?
Well, exactly. Mike McCarthy, I'm afraid to say, doesn't have that locker room. And I don't know why. And I think Garrett has a lot to do with that. But he doesn't have that locker room. And he's had enough time to really get those guys focused and bought in on what he's doing. And they're just out there to whatever they please. I mean, on the field, they're just that thing with Dak, the last 14 seconds, and he decides to run the football. What in God's? I mean, how was that a play that came in from the sidelines, or did he decide to improvise and do it himself? That's one of those many questions. But I think they're happy. Now let's go up to the Giants and then little boy Jones. And
then along came Jones. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, first of all, he can't stay healthy, but see, he's an RPO.
Yeah.
Okay. And I like him a lot, but the problem is he can't stay healthy. And the other problem is that the Giants seem not to be concerned about supporting the boy.
Well, but Dable is going to come in there and actually improve that offense.
Okay.
I think that they are going to get immensely better. Where they're going to suffer is that they lost their defensive coordinator to us. And I don't know who their defensive coordinator is. So they might get way better offensively, and then they're probably going to suffer defensively. I don't know who.
Yeah.
And they have tried to support him a little bit with the offensive line. They've been trying to update that.
They bring that failed boy in as a tight end. The one that Detroit drafted in the first round and never did turn Eric somebody.
Eric Ebron.
I mean, they haven't really had an offensive concept to me that really gets them working as a unit. And I really want to see that happen for Jones before we make a judgment whether he can take him anywhere. I just can't. And then these mediocre receivers, Shepard and what's the other boy? That they love, but he don't get the ball much either. It's just so haphazard. There doesn't seem to be a vision for the offense, and I hope, like you said, Dable will bring that to them. Now let's move on to the Eagles, who we know
they got problems. But their problems are with Howie Roseman and getting.
I thought you was gonna. I was getting ready to say, was that self-created, or is it the players that they have? And why won't they commit to Jalen Hurts? Why won't they commit to him? What's wrong with him? Besides being an RPO, why won't they commit to him? I mean, at some point you have to make up your mind. You got rid of Wentz, even though you threw him out, threw Foles out to keep him, right? Now you're throwing him out because you got Jalen Hurts. Now you're looking to, get one of those, a Russ Wilson in to get rid of Hurts. I mean, what's going on? I mean, what are the Eagles thinking about?
Well, Howie Roseman got Jalen Hurts for a second-round pick, and when they got rid of Wentz, in Howie Roseman's mind, I got to prove that I was correct getting Jalen Hurts with a second-round pick, so I got to play him.
Okay. I mean, I know you have to play him, and I think Hurts has some worth in this. Once again, I question anything the Eagles have at wide receiver. I just don't think they support their quarterbacks enough. I just don't. I mean, look how long they stayed with Aguilar, who didn't become good till he came to us. But, I mean, those are the things that you worry about with the Eagles. You really do. Now, we've got 5 minutes, and I want to quickly run through the NFC South, and I want to start with the Saints. Ladies and gentlemen, them poor Saints.
They forgot that Breeze was going to retire one day.
And Peyton had to be a blow to the torso or to the solar plexus. I mean, who knew he was going to retire? Just out of the blue. And then who did they promote?
Your boy. Wait a second. Wait, whoa. Let me do that. Where's my Sharpie? Okay.
No.
It's not the right color because normally he had a red one.
Oh, that's right.
I apologize. It's not the right Sharpie. It is a Sharpie.
He's the one that almost didn't make the trip back from London.
No, he made the trip back, but it was under separate circumstances.
Oh, they separated him from the team on the plane on his own plane.
Yeah. He didn't go back with the team.
Nope.
And now they're faced with, and let's face it now, I mean, it's second time around. It's been how many years? 7, 8 years since he was head coach. And maybe he's learned something.
I think that Dennis Allen is going to do the same thing, in my estimation, that McDaniel is going to do for us. Second time around, you learned what you did wrong the first time. He's with a better team. Okay.
Definitely a better run franchise. Yeah.
If he gets a quarterback, and that's the big if, but if he gets a quarterback, I think he'll do quite okay in Nolans.
Well, why are we talking like he doesn't have one? I thought Winston had the starting job. I mean, I know Bruce Arians, so don't get me started on Bruce, who's never won anything except when he had Tom. So, I mean, Bruce has never had good luck with quarterbacks. Let's face it. Even down in Arizona, one year he ran through 3 quarterbacks in a year. I just feel like we're overlooking the fact that Winston can be good, but now Peyton's gone.
Well, he got that position by default. I mean, there was just nobody else there. That's why he got it.
I mean, we have to be real about that. We have to talk about that. And while we're talking about Bruce Arians, let's move on to Tampa Bay. They got a quarterback problem too, don't they? Oh, he's so happy. They have to be in the market, don't they?
I didn't think that guy was going to retire before he was 50.
And look, we haven't even talked about Rodgers to Tampa Bay. You haven't talked about Wilson, Tampa Bay, Garoppolo, Tampa Bay, Cousins, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay needs somebody coming on that next plane, right?
Because I'm leaving
on the jet plane.
I'm going down to Tampa Bay, my friends. Who that?
They have a serious quarterback problem down there. Oh, wait a minute. Bishop reminds us that Mike Williams from the Jets, he's available. I mean, so is Jacoby.
No, Mike Williams from the Garglers.
Oh, he's from the Garglers. Raymond, excuse me. That's a wide receiver. I thought he was talking about the guy that was quarterbacking up there for a little while, the phenom. But
I would love to have Mike Williams.
Oh, I mean,
he's better than Devontae Adams and won't cost you.
But now let's move on to our last team of the night, and that's our. I know he has to talk about Tampa Bay, and excuse me, and that would be Carolina, also with a quarterback vacancy. And wait a minute, the Carolina Panther fans are furious. Matt Rule didn't get fired. I mean, they wanted him to go right out of the basket with the GM, and he didn't. They retained Matt Rule. Always, I think, a bad idea when you get rid of the GM that hired him.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, now you're bringing in a new GM that doesn't know him from Adam's house cat. So now what are you gonna do? But he's got a quarterback problem too, because we all know Sam Darnold is not going to get it done.
And all these teams would kill to have Carr.
Oh,
they would. They would kill
every team we've mentioned with vacancies, their offensive coordinators would salivate, which makes, when I hear people bashing Carr, I just see that they have no grasp of what's going on in the rest of the NFL. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
They have no point of comparison. No way to say, this quarterback's good, that's quarterback good. And I think we have finished, Captain, just in time, our review of the quarterback situation in the NFL.
Yeah, well, and it's right on. We are at 154.38. Hey.
Hey.
I don't even have to cut my outro short, but it's a good subject matter. And again, it goes, let's go back to what inspired this, okay? And you kind of ended with that as well. Carr versus the rest of the league. And we've gone through, there are teams that are set. There are teams that are not set. And it's not that I hate Derek. I don't hate Derek Carr. I'm not a lover. I'm not a hater. He's the best thing that we have right now until such a time that we have something better.
If
and
not
remember,
Carr, then who?
It could be 13 years and 16 quarterbacks later that we get something better.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the Browns, did we?
No, we didn't. No, we said Browns and Baker Mayfield, and we kind of skipped over them and went to Pittsburgh. But,
they don't have a quarterback either.
Yeah.
Cleveland will find some way to screw it up. So, I don't even have to worry about that. They already screwed up with the OBJ thing. It's coming. They're going to mess up with Chubb.
They could get Aaron Rodgers and they would mess it up.
Yeah, it would be screwed up. Some way, somehow, they'll figure out a way. They got two of what I believe are the finest tight ends in the league. Never use them. I mean, Njoku, thank God they're all leaving. This is their contract year. I mean, they want out. Everybody wants out of Cleveland now. They went from being the phenom to whatever. So
it's a shame because they had
I thought they did too on defense and offense, and suddenly, quite precipitously, nobody is really sure what they're going to be bringing back in 2022. Are you, Captain?
No, I don't. And again, I'm actually looking forward to this year. I'm actually looking forward to free agency and the draft so we can find out the roulette of quarterbacks where everybody goes, because then we can start the speculation as to who's going to win, because we really don't. The NFL next year is like the old Soviet Union. It's an enigma wrapped in a shadow, whatever that expression was that
Right.
Winston Churchill said. We don't know. We don't know.
We just don't know what's gonna happen. And those quarterback vacancies, and Heidi, I'm so glad you made your point about Carr. Kind of fitting in, although there's some franchises I would warn him off right away. Definitely not Washington. Definitely not Carolina.
Right.
Absolutely. You go to well-run organizations. Stay out of Seattle, right? Pittsburgh, even San Francisco. And of course, New Orleans.
Yeah, Nolens would be great.
New Orleans would be great. Stay away from Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Do not go anywhere near the New York Jets.
No, they're not going to come calling. The Giants might, though.
I wouldn't mess with them either. They've been having a whole lot for a Mara-run franchise. They've been having an awful lot of turmoil. That stuff didn't happen on the Wellington. Wellington ran a tight ship, but his son, I don't know.
I don't think Carr would do good in New York. Just the pressure, the media and the pressure. His skin isn't thick enough for that.
No,
I think it would wear on him.
And
I believe so too.
Thick skins, because I gotta shut my ladies up, and I hate doing that because we're at 158.32. See, that was my segue. That was my
thank you, Edward.
I work with him. Hey, we love everybody. Make sure you comment after the show. Make sure you like. Make sure you share this up for everybody so that let the wenches out. Let the wenches out, because their thoughts are wonderful, and I'm happy to have them here on my show. Join us for all the shows here. Be sure to come in for every Thursday. We're at 1:59. I gotta shut up, ladies. I love you. I gotta go. And you.
All right.
Thanks
Love
everyone
you
for
too.
coming. We'll see you next time.
Thank you to our audience. Really great ideas. Talk to you soon.
Thanks
Bye.
again. Love everybody.